This C that is one line above the last line of the bass clef is the same note that is this note one line below the last note of the treble clef. This is known as middle C. So middle C is known as this note here, but this is the same note as this note here. What this means is that this is where the bass clef and the treble clef connect together. Okay, now we're going to use this information to our advantage. We're going to think about the circle of thirds. We have every good band deserves fans and cash, and it repeats. Okay, I'm going to start on this very bottom note of the bass clef. I'm just going to go ascending from here on the lines. So we have good, bands, deserve, fans, and we see all those lines. Here's where we have cash. Okay, now if we go one up from here, we have E. Okay, one more time. We have A here and cash every. Okay, I could write that, but that would also be the same note as the first line of this treble clef. So that's why in this case, I'm going to go up to here, and we're going to see where this connects now. This is where these connect. And this is the same thing. We're now here. I could go C here, and what you got to understand is you could not write this for a piano player, because what you'd be telling them to be doing is to be playing the same note with two different fingers. What are they supposed to do? Just press the same note with two fingers? It's not going to make a difference versus if they play with one finger. So these are the same note. I really want you to comprehend this. This is middle C. This is middle C. It's one line above the bass clef. It's one line below the treble clef. Okay, so we see the C would go up to this E. This C is also going to the E. They're both the same thing. To not make it confusing, I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, but we see now. C goes up to E. We're going from the bass clef to the treble clef. We're connecting these, okay? We have E, every, good, band, deserves, fans. Okay, now we have all the lines of the treble clef. We connected them together as well. We keep going. We had fans, F. That's the last line. I'm going to teach you some tricks here at the end, and we're going to tie in some other things. So we have fans, we have and, A, cash, every, good, band, deserves. You can just keep going, but like I said, it gets kind of ridiculous, and there's certain things to make it more readable. Typically, professional players can easily read up to 5 lines, or anything that would be right above 5 lines. Then of course, you can imagine where maybe if you're not as professional, you'd proficiently be able to read 4 lines. You're sort of intermediate, maybe 3 lines. I'm not a pro at what I'm saying in this. I just know that generally the max you're going to have anyone be able to read really quickly is going to be 5 lines from what I've read. But like I was saying with the Fs, the 5 lines would be sort of ridiculous, and that would be sort of over the max. Like an actual virtuoso professional, you would not expect anyone to be able to read that. The most that you would expect any human player to be able to play would be up to 4 ledger lines, okay? Although this is some funny territory because some instruments are actually really good at reading multiple ledger lines above the staff that they're working with because they're used to doing this. So these are where studying each individual instrument and how to write for the instrument comes in handy. There's a lot to this, but we're just starting off trying to make this simple. Okay, so now that we did that, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to start on the spaces. So again, the first space of the bass clef is A. Think all cows eat grass. Just think about those cows eating the grass. It's your very first space. Just to help you remember, that first note is A. If you're a beginner, we're also thinking the circle of thirds. I don't want to throw in too much stuff here, but we're thinking the circle of thirds here. So let's start on that A. Okay, and cash, every, good, band. Okay, here's that B. We want to think about what's above this B. It's going to be that middle C. Again, the middle C is one line above the bass clef. It's one line below the treble clef. They're the same thing. So from this B, it would make sense to go now into the treble clef. So we have B there, now we have D here. Now we can comprehend just these little things, that if we have one space above the bass clef, that's the note B, and it makes sense because the next note's middle C. Also, one space below the treble clef is a D. This makes perfect sense because this is one note above that middle C. Let's keep going up the spaces here. We have D, F. Remember the word face, F-A-C-E, spells the notes that are in the spaces here. Think face in the space. Think of an actual, maybe a face in the space to help you memorize it maybe. F-A-C-E. Okay, so we have face in the space. We start on F. We have F-A-C-E. We're spelling the word face. Okay, of course, if we go one above that, we have G. And we can keep going. B, D, F, A, C, E, G, B, D, F, A, C, E. G, B, D, face. We can keep doing this over and over. And again, we have those ottava and quindecesima markings so things don't get too crazy. Okay? Now we see all the notes of the bass clef and the treble clef and how they connect together. Okay? This is the next step to where when you do understand your treble clef and then you study your bass clef, I would highly recommend isolating both of those. Having a period where after only knowing your treble clef, for example, you only study the bass clef and you really get to know it. After this, you combine them together and then everything becomes a breeze. I'm going to go over some tips and tricks here and then we're going to look at